Tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, yes, there is more. You get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves anyone out there to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And we put all this together in one bundle, one package, one method, one mindset. This philosophy, this show, this masterclass that is called, is also a book that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic is why you should rely on others, with an asterisk, for your success. Now, I don't mean relying on everybody, but there needs to be some people that you're relying on in order to achieve your success. Now, as I've been listening to and reading about successful entrepreneurs, whatever your definition being of success, I mean, people who are able to bring their visions to life is what I mean when I say successful, at least for the sake of this conversation, that many of them, if you think about it, they are surrounded by people who actually empower them to do what they do. It's not like whoever you consider to be a successful entrepreneur, it's not like they're doing everything, quote unquote, everything in their business. They may be the person that you know about. Maybe they're the person who's bringing the most valuable skill or the key essential skill. Maybe they're the one who put the group together or put the team together to make it happen. But there's no one out there in any team-based activity or anything in life where you would create a massive amount of success that one person is just doing everything by themselves. In the business world, nobody's doing everything alone. In the sports world, nobody does everything alone. In the family world, nobody does everything alone. So people who reach success or are noted for their success, they are surrounded by a whole bunch of other people who, because those other people do their jobs, the main girl or the main guy, they can do their main job, which again may be being the front-facing person, maybe it's being the person that everybody knows about, maybe it's just because you know about them. But this is a key concept that I think we all need to understand. And those people empower the entrepreneur to be their best. And I'm talking about this from strictly a business standpoint, but you could take all these principles I'm going to talk about here. And of course, you can apply these in the sports world as well. The reason why I'm speaking about it from a business standpoint as opposed to a sports standpoint, in sports we know there's a team. In sports we have positions. In sports we know that this person has a job, this person, and every team in a certain sport, they all have there's the exact same roles that have to be played. It's very uniform in sports. In the business world, it's not as uniform. In the business world, every business can be structured however they want it to be structured. In some businesses, you might know about 4 or 5 people who work there. If you don't know the people personally in the business. In some businesses, you might only know about one person. I mean, how many people can you name who work at Apple? And if you haven't read any books about Apple, you probably can only name Steve Jobs. And he's not even alive no more. He's been dead for 10 years. You can't name anybody there. But there are a bunch of key people who are working there doing certain things that keep these iPhones working and keep the MacBook computers rolling out. In every company that is successful, in Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway, how many people can you name? You can name Warren Buffett. Maybe you know about Charlie Munger. Who else can you name? Probably nobody else. But there are a whole bunch of other people who are working there who empower Warren Buffett to do his thing, whatever it is. I guarantee you, I don't know Warren Buffett, have never met him, and I can't verify this to be 100% true, but I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that Warren Buffett probably does not do the updates on his website. All right, and if they have an app, I doubt Warren Buffett is the one who designs that app. So what I mean is any successful venture, and we'll just talk business here today, is surrounded, whoever the main person is, or the principal, or the person that you know about, is surrounded by a whole bunch of other people who are empowering them to do what they do best. And you, knowing what you do best, hopefully you know what you do best. If you don't know, figure it out. You would empower yourself by surrounding yourself with people who can do all the other things. That's what they do best, so that you're in position to do what you do best, which will put everybody in their zone of excellence, which means if everybody in a group is all working together in a spirit of harmony and everybody's in their zone of excellence, you all have no choice but to produce excellence. It only makes sense, right? Point number 1, today's topic once again is why you should rely on others to create your success. First thing you need to understand that when I use the word surrounding yourself with others, what I mean is successful people eliminate, well, one thing I mean is what I explained in the introduction, but another thing I mean on the other side of it, successful people eliminate the excess around them by empowering others to do what either they don't want to do don't need to be doing, or they simply cannot do. As I said, Warren Buffett probably he doesn't seem like he's too deft on a computer or on a smartphone. I doubt that he's really into those things. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that he is. It just doesn't seem like that type. So when I say eliminate the excess, I don't mean excess people. I could mean excess people. What I mean is everything that needs to happen in order for, let's just say, Warren Buffett, or for Tim Cook at Apple, or Kanye West when he's making his music, whatever is necessary for those people to be successful at doing their thing. They know what they're great at, and it may be one thing, it may be a handful of things, but there are a whole bunch of other things that need to happen for that person to show off their greatness that person is not great at doing. But instead of them grinding themselves down to the bone trying to figure it out, Warren Buffett is not going to sit at a computer and say, all right, let me just figure out how to design an app because we need an app for our company. No, he's going to go find someone who knows how to design apps, get that person on his team, so that eliminates some excess in Warren's world. So now Warren, knowing that he wants an app, and again, I'm just using this as an example. I don't know if he has an app or not, but knowing that he wants an app, the excess is the fact that he doesn't know how, but he needs one. So what he could do, and this is what most people do, and this is why a lot of people fail, is they try to handle the excess on their own. All right, I don't know how to design an app, but I'm going to just go get it. I'm going to buy a course on apps. I'm going to buy 3 books on making apps. I'm going to subscribe to 10 YouTube channels on making apps, and I'm going to try to figure it out on my own. I'm going to just grind it down, no days off, team no sleep, and work on my game and design an app. All right, that's excess. You're doing something that you're not great at. You're going to grind yourself down. You're using all your best energy that should be going to what you're great at, but you're putting it on something that you're not great at. While all the while, there's somebody who's really great at designing apps just waiting for someone to call them and hire them for a contract job. So that's what I mean by eliminating the excess around you. Empower other people to do things that either you can't do because you don't have the skill, that you don't want to do, you know how to do it, but you just are not interested in doing it, or you just don't need to be doing that thing because you're better at doing something else. Doesn't it just makes sense? I'm pretty sure that Michael Jordan could mop the gym floor and hand everybody Gatorade when the Bulls called timeout during the game, but he was a lot better at scoring 30 points a game and playing great defense and helping the team win the championship. So he could have done that other thing, but he eliminated the excess. And he didn't set this up himself, but again, I'm just using this as a rough example here, by empowering the ball boy to go mop the floor and empowering the team managers to go and hand everybody a towel when there's a timeout during the game. So Michael could be doing what he's best at, and the ball boy could do what he's best at least in terms of when he was working with the basketball team. Maybe he wasn't best at handing people Gatorade. Maybe he was great at something else. So he probably didn't stay a ball boy for his whole career. But you get the point that I'm making here. When you buy an iPhone, for example, you buy an iPhone online, Tim Cook is not boxing up and shipping the iPhone to you. I doubt he's in the warehouse, like on the assembly line, making sure that every phone is in its box and putting the address labels on them. Jeff Bezos doesn't deliver your packages when you order something off of Amazon. These people are highly successful, however, despite the fact that they're not doing all the work in their companies, because they delegate jobs and projects to other people who are good at doing those things, at least in the moment, good at doing those things, which frees up the main person to do the thing that they're great at. That frees up Jeff Bezos to oversee the strategic direction of his company. It frees up Tim Cook to be the CEO or whatever his title is at Apple and say, all right, this is the next thing we're going to do. How are we going to update the next iPhone? Let's just look at the big picture of what we got going on here. I talked about delegation in masterclass number 1100, Delegation 101 for entrepreneurs, and also masterclass number 664, how to delegate work in your business. And I also told you in masterclass number 1099, entrepreneurs, stop doing all the work yourself. And it's very ironic that that's episode number 1099. Any of you know anything about the American tax code, you would understand that. But if you didn't, you'll learn it later. When you buy an iPhone, like I said, Tim Cook at Apple doesn't box up the phone. Jeff Bezos doesn't ship Amazon packages. They're successful because they delegate. And that allows them to do what they do great, and then they can position other people to do things that they're great at, so everybody's in their right space. And this is why Apple is such a great company, and this is why Amazon is such a great company, because people who understand getting groceries shipped in the mail, they're working there, not Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is not working in the grocery department of Amazon. Tim Cook is not finding a new glass to go on the screen for the next iPhone. Those are not the things that they specialize in. It's not their job. It's not their role in that ecosystem, in that organization. What you need to do off this point is look at yourself and ask yourself, what would be my key role in this organization? If I only had one role, what is the thing that I'm best at? Where do I produce the highest return on investment for myself and for the overall well-being of the organization that I'm a part of, whether it's your organization or somebody else's organization. Where are you at your best? And I talked about this when I was telling the story of an entrepreneur I was working with a couple years ago. I remember I was sitting with him in South Beach, him and his wife, and I was asking, he was telling me how he had all these things on his plate that he was doing for his business. And I said, well, what's the thing that you do best in his business? And I didn't understand his business that well. I didn't know his industry very well, but I do understand this whole concept of delegation and making sure you're allocating your energy properly. And he said, well, I love doing everything in my business, because it was his company. He owned the company, but he had several people working for him. He said, I love doing this and this. I love doing the accounting. I love talking to customers. I love closing sales. I love making sure the books are right. I love doing the creative direction. I love all of this stuff, Jerry. I would do it all. And I said, so if you can only have one job, you're telling me you would be the accountant? And then him and his wife just started laughing. Like, no, I wouldn't be the accountant. I would do the overall direction of the company. And I said, exactly. So what you need to do is let the accountant be the accountant. Let the bookkeeper be the bookkeeper. Let the maintenance guy be the maintenance guy, or whatever the other roles are in your company. Let everybody play their role and make sure everyone understands their role, and make sure they understand your role, so that nobody's stepping on each other's toes and everyone's staying in their zone of excellence. Napoleon Hill, who's the author of Think and Grow Rich, he told the story about how when he was shadowing and learning from Andrew Carnegie, was one of the many people Napoleon interviewed and based his book Think and Grow Rich on studying people like Andrew Carnegie. And he said Andrew Carnegie once admitted to him, Napoleon Hill, that Carnegie's job and how he became so rich, he was the richest man in the world at his time, was to oversee his entire operation. But he knew nothing about the manufacturing of steel. And Andrew Carnegie was a steel magnate back when being a magnet of steel could make you rich. And Napoleon Hill was kind of surprised when Andrew Carnegie revealed that to him. And Napoleon Hill said, wait a minute, you don't know anything about the manufacturing of steel? You don't know anything about making steel? But he was a millionaire, and today's dollars would be a billionaire when it comes to steel. How is that when you don't know anything about steel, but you're a billionaire off of steel and you're in charge, but there are people here who know 1,000 times more than you about making steel? How are you the one that has all the money then? And Andrew Carnegie explains to Napoleon Hill that my value here is not in making steel. My value is in organizing this group of men, all of these people who are working here, so that I don't have to do any job that takes away my ability to do what I do best, which is organizing everybody, and everyone else, they got to do their job. And that's how everybody is successful. And what he did was empower other people to do the stuff that he either couldn't do, didn't want to do, or just didn't have the skill to do, or wasn't interested in doing. That was his expertise. And he explained this to Napoleon Hill. And this is when Napoleon Hill went on to explain the concept of the mastermind principle. And the mastermind, if you don't know what a mastermind is, you should go read the book Think and Grow Rich so you understand it in detail. But the basic understanding of the mastermind is when your whole is greater than the sum of your parts. In other words, you get 3 people together and each one of them brings 1 unit of skill. That would equal a total of 3 units of skill, right? By simple addition. But when you have a mastermind group, that means each one of those people who is coming to that group with 1 unit of skill, if everyone's in their zone of excellence in their skill, different skill, 1 unit each, but different skills of that 1 unit. If everyone's in their zone of excellence and everyone's working in the spirit of harmony and everyone knows their role and everyone's on the same page as far as what the outcome is, instead of having 3 total units of skill, you might get 4, 5, or 10 total units of skill from only 3 people who are each bringing 1 unit. How is that? It's because you have synergy. Synergy is when the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. That's what happens when you put the right people in place to do what they do best. What is your expertise in that area? Point number 2. Today's topic is why you should rely on other people for your success. Let me make sure that I'm making something clear here. While I told you in masterclass number 301 that you cannot need people and lead people at the same time, that concept was about your emotions towards telling people what they need to know. So when you're in charge in an organization, sometimes you're going to have to tell some people some things that maybe they don't want to hear. You're a coach in a sport. You're going to have to tell one of your players that they're not practicing hard enough, or that they need to show up on time, or that they messed up on running a play during the game. Now, they may not like it, but you don't need them to like you in order for you to do your job, and you don't need them to like you for them to do their job. So that's what I meant when I talked about that in Masterclass 301, in case any of you remember me talking about this, not needing people in order to lead people. Not having a problem with someone having an issue with you when you're in charge is what that one was about. But also, to be clear, you can't lead anybody if there aren't any people. Or if there aren't any bodies to lead, you can't be a leader. Or you have to lead somebody. You need some people in there. So you got to get the right people around you who know what they're doing, who are good at what they do, which doesn't mean they're going to be perfect, doesn't mean they're always going to do exactly what you need them to do. And sometimes you may need to offer correction, but it's not criticism, but it's correction. And I talked about that correction is not criticism. Let me tell you what masterclass that was here. That was number 1316. Correction is not criticism. And the day before that, I told you how to lift up people as a leader. So if you want to lift people up and make sure you're offering them correction, but at the same time not allowing them to feel like it's criticism, listen to masterclasses number 1315 and 1316. You got to get the right people around you, lift them up and empower them to do their jobs, hopefully a job that they're actually good at, and then help them do their jobs better along the way, which sometimes means delivering a message that makes them a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe it makes you uncomfortable because you have to tell them something that may be a bit disappointing for that individual, but this is all part of being a leader. All right, if you don't want to lead, then all right, that's not the role for you. Then everything I'm talking about here today isn't for you. But I'm assuming that you are either a leader or a leader, you're on your way to becoming a leader. And that's why I talk about these leadership concepts here on this show without even offering you the disclaimer. So I told you that, and I've done so many masterclasses on leadership, I can't even name them all. But again, 301 I told you about already. Masterclass 291, the 3 questions of leadership. Number 271, leaders cannot have fragile egos. Number 261, the hardest test of our leadership. It is just a coincidence that every 10 episodes I was talking about leadership. Number 256, a leader cannot fear disappointing people. Number 244, are you following a leader or are you following a follower? Number 185, leadership. Who are you attracting and why are you attracting those individuals? And I'll tell you one more. I talked about the mirror and the window, a concept of leadership in number 1153. But I've done probably about 30 masterclasses on leadership. I suggest you just go through the game group. In the game group membership, there's a list of every masterclass that we've ever put out here. You can just search through those yourself and get all of them. But I'm not going to list them all here because that would take up an entire episode. Masterclass number 3, point number 3 rather, in this masterclass, which is why you should rely on others for your success. Think about it. Think about whatever it is that you're great at. Maybe it's one thing that you're great at. Maybe it's a handful of things that you're great at. Now think of all the things that you do on a daily basis. 2 different lists, right? How many of the things that you do on a daily basis are not also on a list of things that you're great at? In other words, how many things are you doing every single day that you're not great at? They're taking up your time, they're taking up your energy, and they're taking up your attention, and is the opportunity cost of the fact that you're not doing something that you're great at when you're doing something that you're not great at. Every minute and ounce of energy spent on things that are not in your zone of genius, you are in that moment being inefficient and your productivity is less than ideal. Knowing this, you can go to work on that stuff. Knowing everything we talked about here today, you can go to work on that stuff instead of thinking falsely that you need to, quote, grind, close quote, yourself down to the bone. All right, the grind is not what you want. If you feel like you're grinding to do your work, it's probably because you're doing something you're not good at and you're trying to force yourself to do it. No wonder it feels like a grind. All right, everything is not supposed to be a grind. Okay, everything is not supposed to be a struggle. Now, are you going to have to work hard? Yes. Is it going to be some long days? Yes. Are there going to be times you don't feel like working, but you got to work anyway, simply because you're tired or you got other things going on or your energy is low? Yes. That doesn't mean everything's supposed to be a struggle. It doesn't mean everything's supposed to be a grind. When you're doing the things that you're great at, you could be doing what most people would see as a grind or a struggle, but it feels fun to you because you're good at it. When you're doing something that you're good at, it doesn't feel like hard work, even though it is hard work. You understand that? Knowing everything we talked about here today, go to work on the stuff that is getting in your way, the excess, the things that you're not good at, but you're doing them. Those are all excess. If you can eliminate all the excess and create space to do things that only things that you're great at, and just imagine how efficient you would be. Just think about it. You don't need to grind yourself down to the bone on things that you're not great at anyway, because no matter how hard you grind, you're not going to produce a great result because you don't have great skill in that area. And that doesn't mean you need to go try to get great skill. It means stop trying. It means go do something else. The thing that you're already great at, and go find someone who is great at that thing. So they're doing what they're good at. You're doing what you're good at. You're going to have to produce better results instead of you doing what you're good at half the time and then half the time doing things that you're mediocre at. Why would you do that? Why would you maim yourself by forcing yourself to do things that you're mediocre at? It's a waste of your resources. And when you waste your resources, we know that time, money, attention, energy, focus are your resources. When you waste those resources, you're pretty much wasting your life. Why would you do that? Rhetorical question. As we recap today's topic, which is why you should rely on others for your success. As you hear and read about successful people, you'll notice that they are always surrounded by others who empower them to do what they do best. Those people allow the entrepreneur or the business owner or the family member or the whoever, whatever this person is, to be at their best simply because they fill in the gaps and they clear up the excess from that person. Each person does it for everybody else, actually. This is the synergy of the group. Everyone in the group is doing a specific role that they are well suited for, which allows everyone else in the group to do their role that they're suited for, so nobody's in the wrong place. When you get a winning organization, that's exactly the way that it looks. When you get a losing organization, you got a bunch of people doing things that they shouldn't be doing. You got people who are in roles that they are not suited for, therefore they're not doing them very well, and therefore a whole organization is falling under the weight of people being in the wrong place, doing the wrong job, and before long that whole thing is going to fall apart. Just make sure you're not in the building when it falls apart. Point number one, when I say surrounded by others for your success, what I mean is that you eliminate the excess, meaning anything that you're not great at, you find someone else to do it. Tim Cook does not box up iPhones when you order one. Jeff Bezos is not knocking on your door delivering your Amazon orders, even though they're the heads of these companies. What they do is find people who are good at those things and position them to do those things. Like Andrew Carnegie told Napoleon Hill, I know nothing about the making and manufacturing of steel, even though I'm a steel magnate who's worth billions of dollars. My job is in organizing the group so everybody else can do those things and I can see the overall vision of what we're doing in this business. That is my area of expertise. And he knew that and he accepted that. Point number two, make sure that you understand. When I tell you that you cannot need people and lead people, that's about your emotions towards telling people what they need to know. You can't have a problem with telling someone when they're messing up if you're going to be the person in charge. But that doesn't mean that you don't need them to work there. You just let them know they're messing up, that they need to do better. All right. You got to also lift people up at the same time that you might need to give them some criticism. And I talked about that in masterclass number 13, 15, and 13, 16, respectively, back-to-back days. That means sometimes you got to deliver a message to someone that makes them uncomfortable, but at the same time, you're making them better because the correction is not criticism. Point number three, think about whatever it is you're great at. And now think about how many things you do on a day-to-day basis. How many things are you doing every day that you're not great at? All right, and every minute and ounce of energy spent on those things, you're being inefficient because you're not great at it. So there's no way you're being perfectly efficient. And your productivity is less than ideal because you're not producing something that you're great at. So it's not going to be great. Knowing this, go to work on those things and stop thinking that your whole life needs to be a grind where you're just doing things that you're not great at, trying to force yourself to be good at them because you will always fail. It is a waste of your resources. And when you waste your resources, you waste your life. You don't want to do that, do you? Because then you wouldn't be around and listen to me. Work on your game. Dre all day.